Hello, I'm Saul Martinez, your Pasco City Mayor. We're here today to give you an update of the crisis that we're facing with COVID-19. About 2 weeks ago, I provided the first public announcement to kind of share with what the city was doing and how we were going to face this issue, this pandemic that we're facing today. And we have come a long ways in the last couple of weeks, and there's been a lot of changes. And we're here today to provide an update so that we can better inform our community and to keep you apprised of all the issues and the things that are happening here at the City of Pasco. And today we have a panel of staff that are going to be able to help and share some of the updates with me today. And we have our City Manager Dave Zabell, we have our School Superintendent Michelle Whitney, and we have our Fire Chief, Chief Bob Geer, with us today, who are going to be providing information for us. And hopefully we can learn more about what's going on and continue to take the precautions that we're taking to adhere to this issue. And I would also like to say that it's very, very important that we continue to adhere to the guidance from the CDC and to what the governor's orders are for our community. We have some good news that I'll share in just a couple minutes, but for now, we'd like to turn it over to Dave Zabell to give us an update for the city.
Thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon. Excuse me. Thank you, Mayor, and good day. I want to talk a little bit about how this pandemic has impacted city services. And many of you probably already noticed that most of the facilities generally open to the public are closed, and they're going to remain closed until the governor's stay-at-home, stay-healthy proclamation expires on May 4th. And hopefully that will not be extended. However, if it is, we're going to adhere to it. So as I mentioned, all city buildings are currently closed to the general public. The municipal court has stopped its day-to-day operations. All of our programs and activities offered to our recreation division, unless they're online, are canceled. And that means classes, meeting rooms, picnic shelter rentals, the whole works. The parks are open for people to enjoy. However, the play equipment in our parks have been closed just because they're not possible to maintain them sanitized as every child plays on it. City council meetings are being held virtually until the order is lifted, and I'll talk in a few minutes from now about what that means. But services that most of our residents or business owners rely on while impacted and day to day will remain available. Police, fire, ambulance services all remain fully staffed and ready to respond, though some activities like the fire department's community risk reduction program has been scaled back, as has police department's area resource officer program. The critical infrastructure that supports this community is still being maintained. Safe drinking water will continue to come out of your faucet. Wastewater is still being treated to the highest standard. Lines are maintained. Streets and traffic signals and signs are being maintained. And as I mentioned, our parks remain open, but you'll notice that the mowing frequency is lessened for now as those folks are diverted to higher level tasks regarding our infrastructure. Other services such as utility billing, business licensing, permitting, public records requests, are all still operational, and they've adapted to the new environment. Utility payments, for instance, are now need to be made either on phone, over the phone, or online. The council has authorized that grace period for late payments and temporarily suspended shutoffs as well. Permit applications, that process is now entirely online. Though there are no inspections unless the project meets the definition of essential under the governor's order or are exempt. And you see some projects moving forward. For instance, the city's fire station continues forward on Court and Road 74, as well as some of our school district projects. And if you have any questions about services, we are here to answer. And you can call our customer service line at 545-3488 or go online to our website for further information. And with that, Superintendent Whitney is going to give us an update with what's happening at the schools.
And thank you, Mr. Zabell, for that. I just want to begin with saying that the school district is such a vital part of our community, and the efforts and work that Superintendent Michelle Whitney and the school district has provided has been bar none one of the best performances of working under these conditions I had ever seen. And I'm just so proud that the Pasco Pride will continue. And with that, I will turn it over to Michelle Whitney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's absolutely my honor to serve this community from the chair of superintendent for Pasco School District. A little over 20 days ago, I stood in front of Stevens Middle School and said goodbye to our middle school students as we sent them home for what we thought was going to be a break to April 27th and allow our community to calibrate around this unprecedented virus. We found out on April 6th from Governor Inslee that he has extended the closure of our school district through the end of our school year. We certainly weren't expecting that, but we definitely are prepared to continue with some of the services we've already started, and then also to refine some of our services to be even more beneficial, since we know now that the closure will last till the end of the school year. So right away, within about 24 hours, the school district was able to spin up 25 grab-and-go food delivery sites where our students are still able to access a lunch and a breakfast free of charge for any family who needs it. So beginning right away on March 17th and every weekday since, we've provided meals to our students that are ages birth to 18. On average, we've served 40,000 meals a week, and that really has been an extraordinary lift for our food services staff. They are the backbone of that delivery service and really the heroes who are making that happen every day. They also are supported by some of our paraprofessionals and teachers who are helping distribute food. And then within about the next 24 or 36 hours, we added in some food delivery via our school buses. So our bus drivers very quickly lended service to provide meals to our students who are in the most geographically isolated areas of Pasco that were having a difficult time getting to the food sites. So we're very proud to be maintaining access to food for our families and students who need it. We also are partnering with Boys and Girls Club to offer childcare for our first responders and healthcare workers, and we're extending that service to our essential workers of Pasco School District. We have always had a robust partnership with Boys and Girls Club. In the face of this crisis, we couldn't be more proud to hold that up as a model for what true partnership looks like. The bigger lift for us in the school district has been to mobilize educating 19,000 students using an at-home delivery model. So our teachers and our principals have been just extraordinary in pivoting away from the traditional classroom and implementing innovative strategies for engaging around learning activities. We are deploying weekly a lesson or lessons by grade level that will allow students to continue learning the standards that were specific to their grade level, and our teachers then will support through interaction with students around the lessons that we're deploying. We also have a very robust set of online resources for parents who wish to extend their students beyond the lessons that we're providing, and we're doing lessons not only online, but also in print form for our families who would rather have a printed copy. Those are delivered on Mondays through our grab-and-go food sites, and then they're also delivered on the bus routes so that families are having access to those educational services. To support our educational service delivery model, we have about 8,000 students in our district who already had access to a device through our one-to-one technology device initiative at our middle schools and high schools. So about 8,000 of our students already had access to a district device. We've expanded that now. We're prepared to deploy 2,700 additional devices into our community for our students. Starting first with grades K-3, we deployed about 900 last week. After spring break, we'll continue with deploying those devices to grades 3 through 6, and then also expand it to grades K-2 Our goal is to have at least one district device per household, but also recognize that households with multiple children need access to more than one device. So we'll be exploring the viability of providing more than one district device per household as we continue to move forward. We have partnered with our families around that who need internet access by pointing them to a free offer from Charter Communications to access Wi-Fi. And for most of our families, that has been a successful partnership. We will continue to explore partnerships around Wi-Fi access. I couldn't be more proud of our technology department for mobilizing in the way that they have. It's been an extraordinary lift for them to not only deliver student devices, but also helping support employees who are transitioning to a work from home scenario, to supporting teachers who are learning new innovative ways to interact with students online, supporting principals and expanding their technology awareness and their aptitudes with different platforms. So our technology department, again, just phenomenal lift by them, and they've stepped up and innovated in ways that I didn't think were possible in timelines that really seemed unreasonable, but they've met every challenge. We also have a number of people in our community who I would say need us the most, and we've done a couple of things for them. One, we have a hotline that they can call in. The number is 546-6061. They can call in. There's a menu of services there, but there's also a place for them to leave a message, and they will get a call back from someone who can help connect them to services they may need. We've also identified some of our most vulnerable youth that are in homeless situations, migrant situations, et cetera. About 1,000 of our students are receiving 1-to-1 or 1-to-10 case management services and getting personalized connections with an adult at least a couple times a week, if not daily. So we're proud to be able to support those families and students who need us the most during this difficult time. Now that we know that closure is our long-range plan, there's a couple of places in our delivery that we need to refine. Part of that will be our educational delivery model. So we'll be engaging our teachers in some surveying opportunities after spring break, where we'll get feedback from them. I'll work in close partnership with the Pasco Association of Educators to analyze that feedback and provide supports to our teachers that will continue to help refine our educational delivery model at home. And then we'll also be surveying our parents, who right now are the customers of that delivery model, to find out what's working for them, where do we need to get better, and how can we better support. Mobilizing an educational delivery model from a traditional in-person to a mobilized online or at-home model has been an extraordinary lift. And the grace and patience that parents have shown, the innovation that teachers have shown, has truly been amazing. And we're going to ask for more partnership as we move forward through the next few weeks and months to get through the end of the school year, which is scheduled to end June 19th. The big question in everyone's mind is, what about our seniors? So I posted a video yesterday on, I actually emailed it to each senior, and then we posted it on social media, just encouraging our seniors to stay the course, that they need to stay engaged with their schoolwork. If they're on track, stay engaged. If they're not on track, double down their efforts, while we as a system look for ways to make the end of their senior year special. So a lot of things have been postponed, a lot of things have been canceled, but special has not been postponed or canceled. We can still do special. It just might look a little bit different. And I had a meeting today with the ASB leadership from both Pasco High and Chiawana High Schools via Zoom. And we've already started some innovative thinking around how we might finish off our class of 2020's senior year in ways that are new. We're going to define new traditions, but we're going to absolutely make sure the end of their senior year is special. I'm extraordinarily proud to serve this community, and have been since the day I started teaching in the mid-90s. And I've never been prouder in this moment to say we are Pasco. So thank you for having me and allowing me to update the community on the work that we're doing so far.
Michelle, Whitney, we all recognize the importance of a school district in our community. And I personally, and I'm sure I can speak for our council, we are proud to have you and your leadership team lead the school district in this capacity. And we're just proud of everything that you and your staff are doing, from your position all the way, every position in the school district, from teachers to custodians to coaches, counselors, everybody I know is doing their part and they're stepping up to the plate. And I couldn't be more proud as a city mayor to see that come to fruition. And thank you for your leadership.
Oh, it's my honor. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we will turn it over to Chief Bob Geer, who has some information for us on our emergency services. Chief Geer.
Well, first of all, I want to remind people, if you have questions about COVID or treatment or testing, don't call 911. Call your healthcare provider if you have one. If you don't have a healthcare provider, call the health department, the Benton Franklin Health Department. That they'll be able to give you information, steer you in the right direction. Just another little piece related to 911. Overall, the call volumes have remained fairly steady in this community, and we're a pretty integrated bunch of fire departments here between the fire districts and the city departments. It has not overburdened the EMS system, mainly because the stay-at-home order has reduced other types of calls that we would see going on normally. Yes, the transports for COVID patients have increased, but other call types have, especially medical call types, have decreased. So again, reminder, please don't call 911 for information.
Thank you, Chief Geer. Appreciate your help. And again, proud of the people leading your department and providing us the emergency services that we so need during this time of crisis. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Dave Zabell. He'll be talking a little about some more changes in our council meetings.
So thank you again, Mayor. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, we're going to get into some detail on council meeting changes, and in keeping with the governor's proclamation, there have been some big changes in council meetings, and not only council meetings, but school board and county commission meetings and any municipality for that matter. So our agenda is extremely limited by the order. Council and other municipal governments are restricted to taking action only on matters considered what's called necessary and routine, or matters that are necessary to respond to the COVID-19 outbreak itself. And so routine under this guideline means approval of minutes, voucher approvals, correspondence reports, etc. Necessary has been defined as those kind of decisions, if they're not taken prior to April 23, 2020, would negatively impact the essential functions of the municipality. And so an example would be we'd started a bid process prior to the order, which we needed to kind of carry forward on the bid because there's statutory deadlines on when there are statutory deadlines by which a municipality must act on a bid. There are statutory deadlines that are associated with land use permits and any number of things. And so you'll see some things trickling through the agenda, but not at the rate you would see on a normal basis. Another piece is, and this is one that really has been difficult, I think, for a lot of us to accept, but it is what it is, and that is municipalities are prohibited from holding in-person public meetings, which means the public is not allowed to attend our meetings. As a matter of fact, our first virtual meeting that we had in the history of the city, there was 4 people in the room, the mayor to chair the meeting, myself, and 2 folks, our communications manager, John Funfar, and one of our department heads, Zach Ratkai, to run the technology behind it. Everyone else, including the presenters, attended virtually. And so it's created a challenge. Matter of fact, the guidance from the governor's office says that public input can actually be excluded at the discretion of the local agency. And what our council has done is, and we've worked with our communications folks to set it up so that the public would be able to at least comment on items on which the council is going to take action. So we had our very first meeting that allowed for public comment. The items were not glitzy enough, apparently, to attract a whole lot of attention, so we didn't have any public comment, but if the public would have registered for what we sent out as a webinar, or if they'd have called in on the call-in line, they'd have been able to comment on those items prior to council taking action. The other piece of that is if we're going to have a public meeting, everybody, participants and the council, all need to be able to hear each other. Not at the same time, preferably, but they need to be able to hear each other. So maybe throw it back to you there, Mayor, for a minute if you want to talk a little bit about what your experience was at that meeting as an elected official that was tasked with running that meeting.
Yes, the experience was quite unique to be in a council where there's nobody in the audience, and not to see the emotions and not to see the physical appearances of the audience was quite challenging. I needed to be here so that I could see the screen and make sure that everybody had an opportunity to say something and to basically just lead the meeting, and so that it can be done efficiently and conduct our business, the city business that's needed for the time being. But it was a very unique experience. It seems like since the first of the year, I've had a lot of first times that things have happened here in the city of Pasco, and it's been challenging, but we're moving right along with the leadership of our staff and the rest of the council. The council was very encouraging. They're all putting in their time, and they're eager to get back to normal, to help in the capacities that they can with the community. And again, each district has a representative that the community could reach out to, so that they could assist and help if it can be done at that level. So I want to encourage the community to contact your district official, your city council member, and in turn we come together and share with each other the needs of the community and hopefully address them so that we can all have what we need. So it was a very unique experience, but again, we're doing what we have to do to get through this crisis. With that, we have another subject on the employee program to help local restaurants. Dave?
Well, actually, Mayor, if I could, I wanted to spend a couple minutes. The Chief and I talk a little bit about, we have an amazing group of city workers, and I think they have continuously every day through this crisis demonstrated their commitment to the community, their residents and businesses of the community. I want to talk a little bit about efforts we're trying to make, efforts we are making to try to keep that workforce safe and functional, because if they start to fall out due to illness or what have you, that can really impact our ability to provide services. So keeping our staff providing these services healthy is imperative. It's not as if we're overstaffed already. So I think the city's done a pretty good job of keeping a fairly lean workforce, but the downside of that is you don't have a lot of depth if something like this happens and an illness were to run through our ranks. So while we're not seeing a high level of illness at this point, no more than normal actually, this could change pretty quickly depending on how this virus goes through our communities. So I'm going to hand it over to the chief to talk a little bit about some of the operational issues in fire and police and in public works.
Well, thank you. Obviously, keeping them healthy is a high requirement, because we don't want to reduce services. We don't want to increase response times, which if we lost too much of our workforce, that would be inevitable. And we do regionally have plans in place if any one of us or all of us, fire agencies, begin to lose staffing, of how we will continue to respond at a reduced service level. As you can imagine, we have had, since the 1st of March, both fire and police have had some individuals get sick. None of them have tested positive, but they all were put in isolation and remained there for a period of time afterwards, 7 to 10 days, based on the recommendation of our occupational health provider for both police and fire. Most of them are back to work. There's one fire individual that'll come back next weekend, and at least one police officer that I believe hasn't quite returned yet. But at this point, as the city manager indicated, all those services are still fully staffed and fully functional, and I think we're doing a good job. If you can imagine, in a fire station where they work for 48 hours and they eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner together, all at the same table and all touching the same things, it's quite a challenge, and there's a lot of cleaning that goes on and a lot of temperature taking that goes on all throughout their 48-hour shift to make sure. And we have had one individual that ran a small temp that we sent home. It turns out he was okay. By the time he got home, his temp was back to normal, so we're not exactly sure what was going on with him, but it was a sigh of relief that we weren't going to have to put a whole crew down. That station had 6 people in it. And that was the second day of their 48. But it's a challenge to keep them healthy and keep them clean, but they're doing real well at it.
Thank you, Chief Geer. Mr. Zabell?
Yes, and I do want to assure the public that all of our staff are following our CDC and Benton Franklin Health guidelines when it comes to social distancing and personal protective equipment. Matter of fact, a couple comments. We have some very innovative staff. One of our firefighters has made, I think, over probably 300 face coverings for employees at the city. Not medical grade, but ones that help protect the workforce, that kind of innovation, as well as I know our public works superintendent and some of his staff were working over the weekend making sewing at home. And thinking about John Meehan sewing, just, yeah, anyway. I saw the quality, good work, and you know, our workers are just, you know, they're really taking this seriously. And the idea is to lessen our opportunities, and I think, you know, we heard over the last couple of days, I can't think of the right term now, I apologize, but, you know, there are folks out here that don't even realize they may be COVID positive and spreading it around. So wearing those face coverings, which I'll get to why we're not wearing them right now, wearing those face coverings is super important for within the workforce. So one of the things you may have noticed during this presentation is none of us have our face coverings on. Michelle is by herself, so she gets an easy pass. But the mayor, the chief, and I are in the same room. We're a minimum of 10 feet apart, and so we feel, you know, that per the CDC and Benton Franklin Health District guidelines, we have sufficient social distancing. But we are wearing face masks in City Hall, in our other city spaces, on a continual basis, particularly in our common areas and where we're not in our own offices or workspaces that are set up to provide for that social distancing. And then, gosh, all of this has been really, you know, not the most fun topics to talk about. One, I think that the employees came up with from the police department, I think might cheer everyone up a little bit. It was an employee program to help our local restaurants, and you know, certainly everybody understands our businesses have been hit pretty hard, and some of them remain open, like our restaurants, doing takeout. And you can't do a business on takeout that's equivalent to what you would normally do under regular circumstances. So the police department started a daily effort to try to hit a restaurant, and that spread across our workforce. And so the goals being to make an impact at one of our struggling restaurants. Where a restaurant's identified at some point in time in the morning, and staff looking to buy lunch that day would go to the same place. We'd all kind of hit the same restaurant and hopefully give that restaurant owner a big bump during the day, and they'd kind of know it came from the city. It's certainly voluntary, and but the program's building. More and more people are, if they get an opportunity to hit that identified restaurant, are. And I would encourage the members of the public, you know, when you can, to support our restaurants during this time, so that they're still there when we come back to some semblance of normal. So with that, Mayor.
All right, well, thank you very much. Next, we'd like to speak a little bit to the employee mask program. Chief Geer, would you like to provide a little information on the mask program?
We'll cut that out because I kind of did that, unless you want to say more.
Okay,
Chief.
okay, well, we can.
I didn't see that on there.
Right.
I blew that right through that.
Okay, then I'll just.
Do you want to? Did I hit it enough, or do you want to talk?
Well, we
more?
can talk about both. Let's talk about what Public Works has done and
Okay, well, go ahead then. Go ahead.
So, again, talking about masks just for a few minutes, and I did fail to mention that the firefighters are all wearing those masks, are wearing non-surgical, non-medical grade masks on every call. So if you see them show up because your smoke detector is making noise, they're still going to show up in a mask. We did have one of our lieutenants has a sewing business off duty, and he's been making masks with absorbent material that we normally use for picking up oil and antifreeze at hazardous material spills, and it turns out it has real good filtration qualities when we research the materials. So he's made probably close to 300 masks. Public Works did make another 200 masks. So just between a couple departments in the city, we've put together and distributed about 500 masks, and we're still making those and using those, and it sounds like a high number, but if you think about the police department, they have to carry a lot of masks because we're telling them every time you have a contact with a citizen, and they don't have a mask on, and especially if that contact may get close, you need to put a mask on them first. Don't get into close contact without putting a mask on that person, not just you, but that customer that they're dealing with. So I think it's gone real well, and I think we've really supported our employees. I've heard things out on the street where people said, well, they're not wearing masks because if their employer told them to wear masks, then the employer has to supply it, and they can't find the masks, and so I know that's difficult.
Thank you, Chief Geer. And with that, I would like to conclude by just saying a couple of things. There was a quote that I've mentioned before, and that is that there's nothing greater than the power of a volunteer. And I just want to share with the community that I couldn't be prouder to be sitting here today, knowing that there's so many people out in our community doing everything they can to set aside their own agenda and doing what's right. I want to talk a little bit about a young lady whose name is Chelsea Farias, who made these face masks out of her own heart to just supply them to neighbors and friends. And it turns out that she not only made these for these people, but in turn, they were so appreciative that they started donating money for her to buy more material to make for more people. And these are the kind of citizens we have in Pasco. I also want to share that there's been a lot more of people spending time, quality time with their families, and then spending time with perhaps somebody who's physically disabled. Of course, keeping your distance and adhering to the guidance to protect ourselves. But these are the times that we can just take a pause and just make the memories that will be lifelong memories and helping others. And I know that our citizens from the city of Pasco are doing just that, and I couldn't be prouder. There's evidence that shows that when this emergency declaration was made by our governor, that there's evidence to show that it really has helped and it saved many lives. I've seen numbers such as in the beginning of 1,400 expected to die down to about 600 in the state of Washington. And I just want to thank you for doing your part and encouraging others to do their part to keep our community safe. And with that, I want to thank our staff and again, our city employees, the school district, every emergency services personnel, and all the different departments in our counties, in our courts, everybody who's stepping up to the plate to do what's right to keep our community safe. Thank you. And I hope this announcement has been informative and encouraging, and just know that we are going to get through this, and when we do, we'll become a better city because of it. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for everything you do for this community.